Last year, a couple moved to New Jersey from North Carolina. They did everything right, researched online, visited once, loved the photos. 6 months later, they were already planning to sell. The property taxes were twice what they expected. The commute to New York City was nothing like what Google Maps showed at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and they later found out locals actively avoid that area because of flooding issues. This is the number one mistake people make when relocating to New Jersey. They choose based on what looks good on Zillow, not how the state actually works. So today, I'm going to save you from that. We'll cover the biggest trap out-of-state buyers fall into, the 5 New Jersey areas you should think twice about, and the single biggest mistake out-of-state buyers make when choosing a realtor and how to avoid it. I'm Melissa DeSantis, a top producing realtor here in Monmouth County. On this channel, I talk about anything and everything related to living here in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Before we get started on the list, there's one thing that catches almost every out-of-state buyer completely off guard. Most people think of New Jersey as one housing market. It is not. New Jersey has 565 separate municipalities across 21 counties, each with different property tax rates, school districts, flood zones, and commute patterns to New York City. Property taxes vary widely across the county, from 0.461% in Spring Lake to over 2.8% in Roosevelt, influenced by assessed property values and school and county rates. Two homes 5 minutes apart can mean completely different tax bills, school district performance, flood insurance requirements, and commute times to Manhattan. I have seen buyers move here from California, Texas, and Florida who assumed New Jersey counties were broadly similar to each other. That assumption has cost some of them 6 figures. And here's the key thing before we get into the list. None of the areas I'm about to cover are bad places to live. They are just a bad fit for certain out-of-state buyers who don't understand the trade-offs. So with that in mind, let's look at the 5 areas I would think carefully about if you are moving to New Jersey from out of state. So let's start with number 5, Lakewood in Ocean County. And I want to start this one by saying Lakewood is actually a great town for the right buyer. It's more affordable than a lot of the surrounding areas. It's close to the Jersey Shore, and it has a very strong sense of community. But here's what out-of-state buyers could get caught off guard with. Lakewood has a very specific cultural makeup with a large Orthodox Jewish population that influences the rhythm of everyday life. Everything from business hours to traffic patterns to how the community operates. If you're not familiar with that, it can feel very different from what you expected. On top of that, Lakewood has experienced very rapid population growth, and the infrastructure hasn't fully kept up. So traffic congestion is something a lot of new buyers don't anticipate until they're living there every day. Who is Lakewood a great fit for? Buyers who are specifically looking for that type of community, remote workers who prioritize affordability, or families who value that tight-knit environment. My take, it's not a bad town, it's just a very specific one. Number 4 is Trenton, the state capital. And this is one that shows up on a lot of relocation searches because it has history, character, and a lower price point compared to other parts of New Jersey. But here's what out-of-state buyers often don't fully understand. Property taxes here can be a real shock. You're looking at effective rates around 1.9% or higher, which means on a $500,000 home, you could be paying $9,000 to $10,000 a year in taxes. That's an extra $700 to $800 a month added to your cost, and many buyers don't factor that in when they're comparing prices online. And beyond taxes, you also have to look at the overall environment. Some areas of Trenton are improving, but overall crime rates are higher than what most suburban buyers expect. And the commute into New York City can easily stretch past an hour each way. So while it can work for certain buyers like investors or people working locally, for many out-of-state families, it creates more friction than they anticipated. Now, at this point, you're watching and realizing how many moving parts there are to this decision. This is exactly why I offer relocation consultations, because trying to figure this out on your own from out of state using Zillow and Google, it's overwhelming. So if you want to talk through through your specific situation, your budget, your commute, your lifestyle. I'll help you map out exactly where you should and shouldn't be looking. You can book a call with me. The link is below. Now, let's move on to number 3, Camden. And Camden is one of those areas that can look appealing on paper. Very affordable housing, proximity to Philadelphia, and ongoing redevelopment efforts. But here's the reality. Camden still has one of the highest crime rates in the country. And while improvements are happening, they take time. This isn't the type of place where most relocating families feel comfortable long-term, especially if schools and safety are top priorities. I always say this is more of a fit for investors or buyers who are familiar with urban environments and understand what they're walking into. Number 2 is Newark. And Newark is interesting because it checks a lot of boxes for out-of-state buyers, especially those who need access to New York City. You can get into Manhattan relatively quickly, and the housing costs are lower than nearby cities. But here's what most people don't realize. Newark is not one consistent experience. Some neighborhoods are improving rapidly, while others still face challenges. Schools require more research, lifestyle is more urban, and the day-to-day experience can feel very different from what suburban buyers expect. So, if you're picturing a quiet suburban lifestyle with easy New York access, this may not align with what you're actually looking for. And that brings us to number 1, Atlantic City. This is the one that looks the most appealing online, and that's exactly why it's number 1 on this list. Beach access, entertainment, lower home prices. It looks like a win, but here's what most out-of-state buyers don't realize until it's too late. Flood risk is extremely high in many parts of Atlantic City, which means mandatory flood insurance that can add thousands of dollars per year to your housing costs. The local economy is heavily dependent on tourists, which creates instability, and the commute to New York City is simply not realistic for most people. It can take 2.5 to 3 hours each way. So while it works for certain buyers like investors or retirees, it's often not the right fit for families relocating full-time. Now, here's the most important part of this video, because even if you avoid every single one of these areas, you can still make the biggest mistake I see out-of-state buyers make, and that is working with a real estate agent who does not specialize in relocation. New Jersey is one of the most complex real estate markets in the country. Property taxes vary dramatically, school districts are not always straightforward, flood zones are not always obvious, and commute times can be very misleading if you don't live here. And what I see happen all the time is buyers working with an agent who is great locally, but they don't understand how to guide someone who has never lived here before. That's how people end up underestimating taxes by thousands of dollars a year, buying in flood zones without realizing it, or choosing a town that doesn't match their lifestyle at all. A true relocation specialist doesn't just show you homes, they guide you through the entire decision. They help you understand where you should be looking before you ever step foot in a house. So, if you're thinking about moving to New Jersey and you want to make sure you're making the right decision the first time, call or text me directly at 732-757-2522, and we'll walk through everything together. Your goals, your lifestyle, and what areas actually make sense for you. And if you want to go deeper, make sure you watch my next video where I break down everything you need to know before moving to New Jersey, the things most people only find out after they get here.